Welcome to Ottawa Business Matters. I'm Sam LaPrade and I am your very proud host. I'm so excited to welcome you to this brand new show. This is going to talk about influencing, informing, and inspiring you around business. And we're starting with the one and only SueLing Ching, President and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. SueLing, how are you?
Good morning, Sam. I'm well.
So we've kept this a secret for a very long time, and today's the day, the very first show of Ottawa Business Matters. How excited are you?
I'm very excited. I'm very grateful for the opportunity that Rogers is giving us to highlight the great local businesses and leaders that we have, and I'm so grateful to you for being a part of this project.
Oh, I would have been sad not to be. I'm very, very excited. So tell me why, the partner with Rogers TV and the Ottawa Board of Trade, why was this the direction you wanted to go to do those three things? Talk about influence, talk about informing, talk about inspiring around business.
Well, as you know, Sam, the Ottawa Board of Trade is the official voice of business in our local community. And so in that capacity, we're really interested in finding ways to support businesses to be successful, looking for ways to work with economic partners and our elected officials to make sure that we have a competitive business environment and that we're building a city that's inclusive and sustainable. So part of that is making sure that everyone in our community and frankly in the global marketplace understands the strengths that we have in Ottawa, the opportunities that we have in Ottawa, and that we're calibrating the message that all of us are sending out to the Ottawa business community. So what better way to do it than to have guests in here from our business community, including leaders who are elected officials, who are running social enterprises, small businesses, large businesses, to talk about what it is that they're doing and how exciting the opportunities are here.
And there's so much happening in this city. I swear you don't sleep. I'm convinced you're everywhere because there is so much happening and there's so many intersections with business. How important is it that we talk about that today?
It's critically important, and if anyone thought before the pandemic that it wasn't, there's no way to deny it now. Through the pandemic, the silver lining of it is that we really were forced to work together collaboratively in a way that we had never done before. And I think that as we move forward and contemplate, what the future of our city is, because there are big changes that are happening in our city. There's no question about it in all cities, but particularly in Ottawa, our downtown has changed, the workforce strategy has changed for both the public sector and the private sector. There are new opportunities that are being presented to us. So we need to use this muscle that we built through the pandemic of working together and understanding health is connected to the economy, business is connected to the community, and the private sector leadership is connected to the elected officials. And by working together, then we're going to have the best outcomes for everyone in our city.
For sure. I know I've over the years attended, the mayor's breakfast, and I've attended different events, which has been obviously connected to the Ottawa Board of Trade. But being a member, there's so many benefits. So talk to me a little bit about membership.
Sure. So chambers of commerce and boards of trade all across the world have a long tradition of representing the interests of businesses. And they do that in an independent, nonpartisan way. And the reason why we're able to do that is because businesses come together and support the organization so we can represent them really well. So we want all Ottawa businesses to be a part of the Board of Trade, and we deliver direct benefits that help save them money and help them promote their business and network at our events and be able to connect with business and leaders and government leaders at every level of government. So we do that, but what we also do is represent their interests at tables where we're making decisions about city building, about how to attract talent, about how to promote Ottawa in the global marketplace. So we really, are working toward making sure that every business in Ottawa understands how important it is to be involved.
For sure. And when I think about business, many people think about the downtown core. I think the pandemic taught me something really clear, and that is business from Orleans to Stittsville to Richmond to to the downtown core. I mean, it's all of those businesses working together.
Absolutely, we're all connected, and so as you probably know, we're very focused right now on the downtown core and making sure that we have an action plan that revitalizes the core, but not even revitalizes it, because that implies we're trying to get back to where we were. We're trying to transform it so that it's actually more diverse and more vibrant, and most importantly, more resilient than maybe it was before. And so that's a perfect example of how we are working together with the City of Ottawa, the NCC, Invest Ottawa, Ottawa Tourism, BOMA, all of these organizations working together, including the City of Gatineau, to say what is the vision that we all want to work toward, and then how do we optimize our collective resources to try and make it happen.
For sure. And I think about somebody that may be operating a small business in Manotick, or something happening in Orleans or Gloucester. They may not see themselves here, but you have members that are those types of businesses as well. I mean, it's everybody that's coming together.
Absolutely. I mean, Ottawa is the economic hub and cultural hub of the entire region. So what happens here is it does impact all of our region. And quite honestly, Sam, like, we're also the nation's capital. So it's really important that we have a vibrant capital of our country, because it's a symbol in the global marketplace for our country as a whole.
I love to give people things to do, as you know, always bossing people around. But I would love to be able to encourage people today to go to the website, because I think one of the things that sort of surprised me about the Ottawa Board of Trade when I started looking into it years ago is the levels of membership as well. That's very important for business.
We have something for everyone. So we have businesses, every size of business, every sector in the city supporting the Board of Trade. And so there's something for everyone. And people can get as involved as they want by coming out to events and getting involved in making sure that they carry the messages that we're trying to share at every level of government. And then we also have pillar partners, who just understand the importance of making sure that we always have a strong voice of business in this city, and so they're operating at a different level as well.
Yeah, very important message there. And I think sometimes it can be lonely to be an entrepreneur, right? You're pulled in many different directions. I always say entrepreneurs sometimes rather work 70 hours a week for themselves than work 40 hours a week for someone else. They're working so hard all the time that they can feel part of this community, part of the business community by simply joining the Board of Trade.
I think so, and they can offer those same opportunities to all their employees as well, right? So we have programs specifically for small businesses, but it's an opportunity for every sector in our city to intersect. And you're right, it can be lonely. And I was just talking about this with a group of young leaders yesterday. It's an opportunity too for us to develop the young leaders in our city, that next generation of people for when you and I are not around anymore, that are going to carry the torch. And we have a responsibility as business leaders to mentor those folks, to connect with them and make sure they build strong networks and that they build the confidence that we need them to have for the future of our city.
I love that, and that isn't a perspective I had. And you're being invited to some really important tables. And I think about, the thousands of business leaders in this community. Not all those business leaders could be at that table.
No.
So in many ways, you are representing them at that. So it's great to kind of think, okay, I'm working over here on my business. I know SueLing, Ching, and the Ottawa Board of Trade is working hard for me when it comes to all of these other issues. So there's a lot of benefit there.
It's exactly right. I mean, you couldn't run your business and then be at every table, and it wouldn't be effective anyway. So it's myself, my staff team, but we also have a very dedicated board of directors and many volunteers that work on our committees to make sure that we have a diversity of thought, different perspectives, and that we're bringing forward what we consider to be the best recommendations. And the people that we're advocating to that are in positions of decision making, they all want what's best too for Ottawa and for all of the citizens in our province and in our country. And so they're happy to collaborate with us, and we're honored really to represent the interests of the business community. And when we say the business community, and you said this just a bit earlier, for us, what we believe is that a strong economy is going to make sure that we have community prosperity for all. So we're going to focus on business leadership, but also it impacts the entire community.
It does. I mean, I think about big capital campaigns, big fundraising campaigns that are going on in this city. You see business leaders stepping up, right? So it is cyclical. I mean, people are
100%.
giving back. People are supporting those businesses. I love those stories. Those are really impactful as well. We talk about, in terms of this show, influence, inform, and inspire. Why those three words?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, we want to make sure that everyone in Ottawa or interested in being in Ottawa understands what really is happening here, how well we're working together in our economic ecosystem, what the opportunities are here. We want them to be inspired to be a part of it. So that could be, making sure that you're buying local, that you're sharing a positive message. We started an Ottawa Ambassadors Initiative because, of course, many people here have international connections. Invite people to come to visit, invite them to come and go to school here or live here or open a business here. And then the last piece is to really understand where it is that we're trying to go, so that within your own networks, every one of us has a minimum network of 1,500 people, in your own networks, that you're calibrating the message to the people who are really working in it every day. And so that's what we were hoping for with this platform. And
that's amazing. And we know our first show today, very exciting, we decided to invite Mayor Mark Sutcliffe to join us. He's going to be our next guest. How important is it to have the mayor at these tables as well, SueLing?
It's critically important. It's critically important because, of course, in many ways, we are advocating to the City of Ottawa what the views of the private sector are, how we can make it at the local level easier to do business, be open for business. But we also have to work closely with our city when we are delivering messages to other levels of government about how they are supporting the city. So we want to make sure that all of us are really tight on what it is that we're trying to achieve, what our priorities are, and like I said earlier, optimizing our collective resources toward that.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm so excited today to kick off Ottawa Business Matters with the one and only SueLing Ching. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
SueLing Ching joining us today from the Ottawa Board of Trade. Mayor Mark Sutcliffe coming up on Ottawa Business Matters. Come on back. I'm Sandra Pratt, your host for Ottawa Business Matters, and I'm so excited as we're kicking off our very first show to welcome Mayor Mark Sutcliffe. Hello, Mayor.
Hello, Sam. How are you?
Good. How are you?
It's great to see you.
This is a regular occurrence for you to be in front of the cameras, of course.
I've been in this studio many times.
Many
I used to host a show every night from this studio, and I hosted all of the debates back when I would MC and moderate the election debates federally, provincially, and municipally. So yeah, I've spent thousands of hours in this room.
Absolutely. And as the mayor of this city, I love saying that, by the way, it's fantastic. Do you have a different perspective on business now? I mean, this show is all about really inspiring people about business, but has your perspective changed?
I don't know if it's changed, but I think even more now about the importance of having a vibrant economy, and we're undergoing a lot of changes in Ottawa and facing a lot of pressures. We're lucky to live in an amazing city with wonderful people. We are so fortunate to have the federal government presence in Ottawa, the high-tech community, the tourism industry. So there's so many things that are working in our favor. But that doesn't mean we don't also face some challenges. And I worry about the prospect of the federal government, for example, reducing its footprint in the downtown core and what that will mean for downtown businesses and for downtown in general. I worry about how the economy is changing. There's so much technological disruption, and what's AI going to bring, and how that might impact businesses in Ottawa. And we face a lot of challenges as a community: homelessness and housing and food insecurity and rising prices. And we're not going to fix any of those challenges if we don't have a strong economy. So I feel like one of our biggest jobs at City Hall and one of my biggest priorities has to be to make sure that the economy is strong, that we're stimulating entrepreneurialism, that we're encouraging people to start businesses, to grow, to invest in Ottawa. Because if we're not doing that, we won't have the resources to tackle those other challenges.
Right. No, it's brilliant. I think when I think about, pre-pandemic, we often referred to the community and the business community. What became so clear to me about 10 days into the pandemic is we're all in this together. There is no business community. This is the community with a strong business focus. I don't know if that's how you felt, but I felt during the pandemic we really noticed that.
And we have to keep that going. I do feel like there's more of a connection between government and business, between the not-for-profit sector and the private sector in Ottawa now, and I hope that continues going forward, because we need to think about Ottawa as one community. People tend to think of the federal government Ottawa, the sort of capital Ottawa, and then the rest of Ottawa, but I think there's more of a connection now than there ever was before. There are so many great entrepreneurs and so many terrific businesses that have been started in Ottawa, and we need to keep that going. It's in everybody's best interest, for example, for the tourism industry to be successful. We all benefit from that, having thousands and thousands of people come to the city every week, and they spend money here, and they stay in hotels, and they shop, and they go to restaurants, and they go to museums and attractions. That's great for everyone in our city, not just directly for the businesses in the tourism sector.
Agreed. I've seen you do 24 and 24. So you're heading to all
24 and 48.
48. Yeah, that would be really impressive.
We'll try that someday. Maybe.
There you go. So you're trying to get to, and you do a great job of going to all of the different wards, ensuring that constituents know that you're thinking about the rural communities and you're thinking about the downtown core. I know you were in Manotick recently, hanging out at a coffee shop in Manotick. I think it's really important that when we think about business, that we don't just think about the downtown core. Business is spread all over this city.
Absolutely. And there's nothing I like more than getting out to every part of the city and dropping in on local businesses and seeing how they're doing. And that goes from the Byward Market to Navan to Stittsville to Orleans to Manotick to Greeley to Carp. There's so many great little villages in our city with small businesses, with coffee shops and restaurants and other businesses. And I love getting out and visiting them and talking to the owners and hearing how things are going. And businesses are distributed throughout the city. We have some great rural agricultural businesses in our city. That's an important part of our economy as well. And we need to make sure that we are paying close attention to all those businesses and ensuring they're successful. I toured a mushroom farm in
awesome.
The south end of the city, for example. So there's lots of great examples of that, and we need to support all our local businesses. But I love dropping, when you think of businesses that started here in Ottawa, like Maverick Donuts, for example, that's an Ottawa success story. So any chance I get to visit a local business, I'm always happy to do so.
Yeah, and I know they love having you. I see the photos, so lots of smiles. I think, when I think about this show in particular, I can't even tell you how ecstatic I am to be hosting it, but to know that, the whole goal today is to talk about informing, influencing, and inspiring. What words of wisdom, somebody watching for the first time that kind of thinks, I don't know if business show really affects me, how would you inspire them to say, yeah, business in this community, even though I may not be an entrepreneur, does affect me?
The economy affects everyone. And like I said before, as an example, if tourists come to Ottawa and they spend money here, it's great for the tourism sector, but it's great for every resident of the city, because it means that we have more resources to tackle the challenges that we're facing as a community. And so that's why we need to continue to attract not only tourists, but big events to the city, why we need to continue to support events like Blues Fest and the Jazz Festival and other events like that. We're hosting the World Junior Hockey Championships later this year, which is really exciting. So the tourism sector is one example. The federal government increasingly is having employees work remotely. That poses a risk to our local economy. They're the #1 employer in Ottawa, always have been. And if people can work from anywhere, they may not be working in Ottawa going forward. So it's the private sector that is going to drive the job growth over the next 20 years in our city. So if you want more community centers, you want more swimming pools and ice pads and parks, more recreation for your kids. If you want the city to be successful, we need private sector growth. So business matters to everyone. Seeing companies flourish in Ottawa, hiring more people, employing them here, that's going to be the secret to our success going forward, because it probably won't be from federal government employment growth. It'll be private sector employment growth. That's what we need to be focused on.
100%. I mean, I see you at Senators games. I see you at music venues. That's also a really important part, that cultural piece, hanging out at the NAC as well. I think all of those pieces are really key as well, Mayor.
Absolutely. So for the first time in human history, you don't have to live in the same city where you work. Right? You can work remotely. I know people, businesses that in Ottawa, people that I used to coach before I went into politics and work with, that during the pandemic, for the first time ever, they hired employees who were not living in Ottawa and will never live in Ottawa and are working remotely. And there are people who live in Ottawa and they work for companies in other cities, and they don't often go to those companies. They live and work in Ottawa for a company that's not here in Ottawa. So more than ever, you can choose where you live and where you work as two separate decisions. So if we're going to have the best and the brightest living in Ottawa, if we're going to have a lot of people living in Ottawa, we have to have an amazing quality of life. And fortunately, we do. We are so lucky to have all the great national museums here, and the National Arts Centre and the National Gallery of Canada. And we have a great, vibrant local arts and culture scene. Again, Blues Fest and venues like Canadian Tire Centre and Lansdowne Park. TD Place has become a spot for concerts and comedy shows and that sort of thing, because people might have a job working for a company in California or Vancouver or some other part of the world, but they can still choose to live in Ottawa and do that job from here remotely. And they will do that if there's great quality of life. And that includes entertainment, and it includes being able to get around the city easily and it not taking a long time to travel. It includes all the wonderful recreational paths that we have in the city that people can run and bike on. It includes the fact that Ottawa is a great place to raise a family. So we need Ottawa to be a great place to start a business and a great place to work if you are working remotely, no matter where your job is.
100%. You're still running as mayor, right?
I am running every day.
You're still running
yes.
every day. Good
Yeah.
for you. Good for you. Let me ask you this. How do you keep business at the heart of discussions at City Hall with your council colleagues?
I'm talking to business owners all the time, and I know that my council colleagues, many of them meet regularly with the local businesses in their wards. We're listening to businesses and business owners all the time to make sure we understand their needs and how we can make life easier for them. We've done a lot. We did a lot through the pandemic. I wasn't part of City Council at the time, but a lot was done during the pandemic around patio fees and other things like that. So we're always listening. In addition to that, we work with Invest Ottawa, very closely with Invest Ottawa, and I know the Board of Trade does as well. We have programs through Invest Ottawa to stimulate entrepreneurship, to provide resources to people who are starting new companies. We work with the Board of Trade, we work with Ottawa Tourism, we work with Regroupement des Gens d'Affaires, the Francophone group, and SueLing has been a great leader in our community, and I talk to her on a regular basis to make sure that I'm understanding the needs of the business community and Board of Trade members. So we'll continue to do that going forward, because it's very important that we are supporting private sector growth.
We're all about inspiring today. So inspire a new business owner. If they're thinking, maybe Ottawa is the place, sell it to them, Mayor.
Well, Ottawa is a great place to start a business. There's no question about that. And there's so many great success stories here, from Shopify to so many other companies. And I would say, from my own experience as an entrepreneur, there are a few things that I found more satisfaction in than starting and creating something new like a small business. And I was so fortunate to work with so many other small business owners in Ottawa as a coach and mentor. It was a great joy for me to do that. I actually hated giving it up in order to take on this new job, and I miss it, but it's all for the best. But it is such a fun and creative thing to do, to start something new and see how it goes and engage other people and work with people you care about to grow something. There's so much opportunity right now, especially in Ottawa. We are investing heavily in areas like autonomous vehicles and AI, and other emerging sectors of technology. There's so many other great entrepreneurs. The one thing I would say to people is surround yourself with other entrepreneurs. You know, it can be very lonely starting a business and doing it on your own. Be around other entrepreneurs, and there are so many in Ottawa, and there are groups that you can connect with. Just share the experience, share the journey, learn from others, connect with others, and go for it.
Wise words, Mayor. Thank you so much. Mayor Mark Sutcliffe joining us today. Thank you so much for joining us on our very first edition of Ottawa Business Matters. We're coming back. We're going to meet a local business leader. Stay with us. Welcome back to Ottawa Business Matters. I'm Sam LaPrade, and we're going to meet a wonderful business leader in our community. Hugh Gorman joins me now. Hi, Hugh. How are you?
Good morning, Sam. I'm well, thank you.
Great to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Love having CEO in the seat today. CEO, of course, of Colonnade BridgePort. Tell us a little bit about Colonnade BridgePort for maybe those that aren't familiar.
Yeah, we're a real estate company based here in Ottawa. We've got offices in Ottawa, Toronto, and Halifax. We provide a full suite of real estate services, so traditional real estate services in the commercial sector. And we're also a real estate investor and developer, and we build predominantly high-rise multifamily projects around the city.
And I think if we drove around the city, you could point out a lot of projects.
Yes, for sure, we could. Yeah, we've got lots on the go and lots to come. So
Yeah,
we're pretty excited about what's coming, in the next 5 to 10 years in terms of Ottawa itself and the opportunities for business in general, but our company as well.
We talk a lot about leadership, and I think we tend to think about, somebody is not a leader one day and the next day they're a leader. I don't think it works that way. Just like a band gets good overnight, right? It doesn't work that way. It takes a long time to build a leader. Walk me through a little bit about your journey.
Well, I started really my career in university. I went to Carleton and was hired by a company based out of Montreal, but with a local office here called Canderel, and they were really an entrepreneurial real estate business. And the thing that was so great about that job is I had a formal role. I was a summer student, a marketing person, and then that role basically they let you kind of evolve your career as long as you were doing things that were aligned with the business and supportive of the business. They let you go, and so that was a really great lesson for me early on, was that you've got to let people be themselves in their be themselves in their job, but also allow them, if they're energetic, they're motivated, they're ambitious, to let them go and see what they can create. And that was the environment that I kind of grew up in the real estate business, and something that I believe really strongly in as a leader of the organization today, that you really got to let people be themselves, be creative, figure out how they can fit into the organization, how they can add value, and if you hire the right people and have the right culture, it seems to take care of itself.
For sure, and allowing people to sort of dream, right, and think, where could we take this organization, where could we take this business? I think it's a really important point. If we put people too tightly in a box, then they don't get to dream.
Well, for sure, and I think they've got a job to do, and they've got to get that job done, and so you got to be clear and specific about what the role is. But aside from that, people, if they're given the opportunity to explore and expand what they're doing and support people around them and try to figure out ways to create value, they often do. If you've got the right people and the right kind of organization support behind them. So you got to get your job done, but at the same time, it doesn't put you in a box that you can't get out of. You're kind of free to do what you want. And that was something, as I said, I learned early in my career.
And when I think about my career, I think about those people that really lifted me up, sort of said, in some ways, I had somebody that I was working for and say, you know what, I think you're done here because you've done everything you can do here. I want to see you succeed somewhere else. And I was like, I don't want to leave. And they're like, but it was the best thing for me,
Absolutely.
right? So I think sometimes we see that others are lifting us up.
Yeah.
Who lifted you up?
Well, I think early on, that when I started, there was the local leader of Canderel, a gentleman by the name of Oakley Semple, who's still active in the business today. When I went from Canderel to Oxford, properties. I had people, John Love was somebody that early on in my career was somebody I didn't work closely with, but he was somebody that I, kind of watched how he kind of conducted himself and the types of things that he thought about and talked about as a leader, and where he would engage and where he would stay back. And that was something that I always found fascinating to watch, and tried to, kind of emulate that as I started to, evolve through the organization. Michael Latimer was the CEO at Oxford. Oxford was a big, institutional real estate investor, asset manager, and advisor. And I came up with this idea to work on a fund project, an entrepreneurial project inside the organization. And he didn't say no. He said, let me hear all about it. And I thought it was a bit of a flyer. And then in the end, they said, well, you know what, that's not exactly, on strategy in terms of, but what about this instead? And so I was given opportunities to do very creative things all throughout my career, whether the organization was small and entrepreneurial, or, big and institutional and somewhat bureaucratic. And so, again, I think, the willingness to be creative and try to figure out how you can add value is always something that's important, and and to have leaders that acknowledged and recognized that and actually encouraged it and supported it. I've had many people like that in my career. I've been very, very lucky.
Yeah, very blessed for
Yeah,
sure. And
yeah.
I think about when you've had that, because I certainly have been blessed that way too.
Yeah.
I want to then pass that along. Are you the same?
No question about it. I think the one of the things that I get the most pleasure out of is engaging, with people even outside of the organization, people that are new to the industry. I did a podcast with just a couple of weeks ago with somebody it's relatively new to the real estate business, a new immigrant, somebody that's super energized by just their energy. They're energized by meeting people, and they're curious and finding out about what's happening in the industry. And I just spending time with people like that, and being able to do a little bit to maybe help them along the way, like I was helped along the way, is very. I find it very fulfilling and rewarding.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And we were speaking with Mayor Sutcliffe a little bit earlier, and we were talking about sometimes pre-pandemic, we would sort of say, there's the community and then there's the business community.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were both saying, Mayor and I were agreeing that, that isn't the way anymore. I mean, it is, we're all in this together. I know we heard that a lot during the pandemic, but have you seen that transition over the last number of years?
I think there's no question about it. I think when you think about, my philosophy is that you need a strong business community, a strong, economic base in which to build community from. And so I'm a business person. That's, kind of how I think about things. That's why I'm actively involved in the Board of Trade and Economic Development. But the impact of that on the community at large, I think, provides an opportunity to, if you're investing in your community and you have people creating, economic activity and in your community, I think it creates then the opportunity to reinvest in other parts of the community, whether it's arts and culture, social services, things like that. And if you think of those two things as disconnected and they function, independent of each other, you don't really understand the impact that each has on the other. And so, how can you have a strong business community if you don't have, a strong social network to support? And I think we're seeing a bit of that through the pandemic. I'm on the downtown task force, and we're seeing the impact of mental health and addiction issues and homelessness in the downtown core. And to think about how could the business community disconnect itself from that? It's a really important, the business community has a responsibility and an obligation to support finding solutions to help the community, help people in that community that are vulnerable and need support. But you can't do it without the economic capacity to be able to make that happen. And so, to me, as we kind of look forward, I think the old view of communities being separate and distinct, I don't think we can look at it that way anymore. There's no quite. We're all in this together, and I know it sounds a little bit cliche to say that, but really, at the end of the day, we need a strong economy to support a strong community, and a strong community creates the the cultural vibrancy, and it makes it a place where people want to be and live, and have families and come here to start their careers. And so it's an ecosystem that you can't look at it as kind of bifurcated pieces, in my view.
I like the ecosystem comparison. I like that a lot. How has leadership changed in the last number of years in your mind?
Well, I think it's kind of where I started. I don't know if it's changed so much as it's really, I think leadership is about creating an environment for people to succeed. It's not about, it can't be about your own kind of personal gain. It's about really understanding how you can create an organization, if it's a business in particular, that really supports people as individuals, making it very clear and creating a vision as to where the business is going, but then allowing people to be individuals inside of that business. Again, accountability in our organization is a big part of our culture. You've got a role, you've got a job to get done. We started a flexible we're evaluating a flexible work policy before COVID hit. We were going to implement it the summer of 2020 to try to find ways to allow people to have better balance in their lives. And so is it really critical that you're kind of in the office 9 to 5 every day, or is it really critical that you get your job done and that you've got a proper balance in your life? And so our view as an organization, my view as a leader, is that you've got to create that vision. People understand where you're going and what you're trying to accomplish. They have to understand their role in terms of how they support that, and then you kind of got to let them go and do what they do and figure out how they need to do it, and obviously make sure they've got the resources to get it done. So to me, that's a big change. It's not about being prescriptive and about the optics of being a hard worker and playing the game the proper way. It's about as a leader, it's about allowing people to be individual, getting the best out of the organization for them, and I think in return the organization gets the best out of those people.
You're definitely ahead of the times, for sure, in terms of thinking about that before the pandemic, because many people sort of scrambled, right? I mean, but you were sort of already thinking that way, which is wonderful.
Well, yeah, for us. It was a bit. We have a lot of people. Our main office is in the south end of the city, and we have a lot of people that lived in neighboring communities, Kemptville, Carleton Place, places like that. And traffic was, getting more challenging, and so, when we were, talking to people internally in the organization, it was just, it started to feel like there was, some real challenges with, life was super busy, and, if they have young families, and just trying to balance the whole thing. And so when you talk to them about, from a mental health perspective, how are you doing? The stress was around, just all the stuff that they had to do. So one of the things that we were trying to figure out is how do we create a bit better balance, and so it's an employee-focused perspective for sure.
We only have about 30 seconds, but what word, if someone was to ask you what word, Hugh, you would use to describe Ottawa business, what word comes to mind?
Vibrant.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much for your leadership in this city, and certainly from a business perspective. And I know you do lots of other things as well, and I really appreciate you being part of our very first show. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to highlight the work that's happening out there in the Board of Trade. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Hugh Gorman joining us today from Colonnade BridgePort. He is the CEO. When we come back, we're going to talk to a wonderful restaurant owner. Maybe it's somewhere you want to go this February. Stay with us on Ottawa Business Matters. And we're back with Ottawa Business Matters. I'm Sam LaPrade, and I'm so happy to be your host. And I'm so excited to welcome my next guest, and that is Sarah Chown. How are you, Sarah?
Good, Sam. Nice to see you in person.
Nice to see you in person.
Yes.
We used to talk a lot, and we never got to be together, so I'm happy that you're here today. Managing partner, Metropolitan Brasserie, one of my favorite places. Even seeing you here, I'm transported to the patio on a beautiful summer night in downtown Ottawa. Great food, great environment, culture you have there. Tell me a little bit about how you started this wonderful restaurant.
Geez, we opened in 2005. Yeah, so we're going on 20 years almost. It's pretty crazy. I didn't own it at the time, but I was around and just stuck it out, and have since become, part owner there. There was a lot of thought that went into what we're going to put in there, and eventually rested on the French brasserie style, and have become home to hosting parliamentarians and tourists alike. So we get a little bit of a unique product there, and a fantastic location, like you mentioned. When you talk about the patio, there's nothing that can beat that spot there.
I remember being there last summer. I was with one of my friends, and we literally sat there. We would take a couple of bites, and we were like, "Oh, hi, so and so. Oh, hi, so and so." Like the whole time, it seemed like the whole city was gathering there, which is wonderful. Located, of course, right kitty corner to the Rideau Center, near the Chateau Laurier, and just in the heart, truly in the heart. You've got the best location, by the way. I know you know this.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, it's the best location. But talk to me about being a restaurant owner in this beautiful city.
I love our restaurant in particular. Like you mentioned, when you're sitting there and you're seeing so many different people, it's kind of like a cafeteria, as some people refer to it, or a community center, as other people also refer to it. It's super unique in the fact that you can come there and you're going to see so many people from different walks of life. You're going to see tourists, you're going to see politicians, you're going to see journalists, you're going to see, people that live in the downtown core. It's this melting pot of all kinds of different people coming together, which is what a brasserie is all about. And having a restaurant in Ottawa is great. We have a great community that has supported us through some really tough times, as everybody knows, but we've survived and are looking forward to thriving more in the future.
100%.
Yeah.
And when we decided to do this show, of course, it's been a little bit of a secret for a long time, and I was so excited to finally, we could invite people to be on the show. And I remember SueLing and I talking about, who do we want to really, share their story today? And around Valentine's Day, I was like, oh my gosh, we have to talk about Metropolitan, because it's such a great Valentine's destination.
Yeah, it is definitely. And Valentine's Day this year is falling on a Wednesday, which is lucky for us. So we get to capitalize on the Wednesday, but also you've got the shoulder weekends on both sides. So this weekend we'll start our Valentine's Day menu. So we'll do a 3-course special feature menu, and we'll run it all the way this weekend through Valentine's Day, and then you shoulder it into that Family Day weekend to close it out. So yeah, it's a great spot for Valentine's Day. A lot of people will come before they go to a show at the NAC, or if they're doing some winterlude activities, of which there's still a number of them going on, regardless of whether the canal is open or not. But really looking forward to Valentine's Day. It's a special day, and there was so many years that we didn't get to have it. We got it back last year, but this year's looking like a really good one.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And we talk about hospitality, how key it is, how many people in this city work in hospitality. I will tell you, I had no idea until sort of the pandemic hit, and we sort of realized what a drive that is in this city. So talk to me a little bit about your team and attracting people to work at the Metropolitan.
Yeah, I would say even like from a broader perspective, if you look at some of the statistics, you'll see that for every $1 million sold in a retail store, so you think about, a clothing shop in a mall, it takes 4 employees to make that $1 million. If you look at a restaurant, it's 14. So we employ a lot of people. We employ a lot of people's children. We employ a lot of people, it's their first job, a lot of newcomers to Canada. So we are a big driver for the economy. We work with a lot of students at the Metropolitan, so a lot of university students, even high school students that we employ there. I think we have a pretty fun environment. We've got some people that have been there with us since we opened our doors in 2005. So we're really loyal to our staff, I would say.
And loyal to this community. And I know you're going to be humble about what I'm going to say, but I've got a good memory. And I know that you gave a very generous gift to Algonquin College to inspire hospitality students.
Yeah.
How important was that, not only as a business owner, but somebody that realizes how important it is to give that, that hand up to somebody that wants to be in this industry?
Yeah, so we have 2 bursaries that we do at the college. One that goes to a student in my alma mater program, which was the Hotel and Restaurant Management program. At the time, they didn't have a bachelor's degree program there, which they do now. So they have a bachelor's in hospitality and tourism. So another student also gets a bursary from us every year. So we have 2 students that we sponsor every year, different student, obviously. But I just think it is so vitally important to focus on the future of our sector and building up those youth that may need a little bit of help to do what they're passionate about. And we need so many people to come into this industry and carry the torch forward for all of us, right? We're not all going to be around forever, and we need to keep stimulating that growth. So it's super important.
For sure. And I know a lot of women are turning to be entrepreneurs. I mean, this has been going for a long time, but I find, you know, over the last number of years, people are like, I'm going to do my own thing. I have a passion for X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to go into that. Talk to me a little bit about some of the women you're seeing in business and maybe some fellow restaurant owners that you come in contact with, and how important it is for you to sort of be connected.
Yeah, it is super important for us to be connected. It's a scary step to take, right? Like you're jumping off a cliff and you hope that everything works out. You have this vision of how things are going to play out, and you need to surround yourself with a group of strong people, women alike, that can help walk you through, you know, your successes and the challenges that you've had, not only as a woman, but as an entrepreneur, because it's difficult for everybody, especially in this day and age. But there's lots of us out there that are trying to put our best foot forward, and the struggle is real, as they say. And, you know, every day brings a new challenge, but you just got to stick it out, because there's always something good that's coming behind.
For sure. And Ottawa Business Matters, when, you know, the concept was developed, it really was talking about informing, inspiring, and influencing. When you think about those three words and this city, does it kind of get you excited about what's to come?
Yeah, definitely, especially when it comes to the downtown. Like we've been talking about, there's some changes that need to happen there, and there's some changes that are going to be coming, and I think we need to be excited about that. I think people need to get down there and get some ideas and see what's going on, you know, and come visit all the restaurants that are down there and be inspired by the growth that's going to take place down there. Yeah.
So representing all restaurant owners right now, and I know you want every seat filled every night at the Metropolitan, of course, and I think about, you know, we talked a little bit earlier, from Orleans to Manotick to Stittsville, everything in between, Gloucester, etc. Talk on behalf of all restaurant owners about the importance of supporting local, getting into those restaurants and celebrating those special occasions, and but also, you know, making sure that those restaurants survive and thrive. To your point.
Exactly. I mean, restaurants are gathering places for the community, and they are a big employment hub. It's very important to support those places, especially on the main streets. You don't want to see those places that aren't open. That you need to really fill them. And, you know, even if you're out once a month, if you can do it, it's greatly appreciated. Even if you're just coming in for a glass of wine and a quick appetizer, you know, all of these things matter. And it's important for us to see our community and get to know who our customers are, and develop those relationships with them. So it's only beneficial for everybody.
And I love where you're located, because you know, you benefit obviously from and all of the exciting winterlude activities and all of that. But then spring is just around the corner, and of course the Tulip Festival brings lots of people. And then you've got summer is always hopping on your patio, because I've been there. And then of course the fall is such a beautiful time, and then Christmas parties. I really see that you would have benefit from everything on the calendar.
Yeah, we really do. That location is prime. The cycle, like you mentioned, exactly. I mean, even you think about things like race weekend is big for us. Mother's Day is big for us, but is for most restaurants, of course. But we do benefit from all of those seasonal activities, and also from all the art scene and conferences that are taking place. So you think about the Shaw Center and the West End are right across from us. So any conference that's in town, of which there are many, especially during parliamentary sitting weeks, we really do benefit from that, because we have the event space in the back that we're able to cater to large functions. But that patio is really a driver. Like you said, it's a big one. We do live music out there sometimes. And, you know, it's a see and be seen kind of people watching. Even though it's one of the busiest intersections in Ottawa, you would never think it, because you're so set back. And it's covered in this beautiful tree canopy with all the lights that are strung. It's quite a thing to be seen in literally right like the center of downtown Ottawa.
Yeah, for sure. And have delicious food.
And have delicious food.
So when you're talking about a menu and you're trying to, obviously you've got a theme, which is fantastic, but talk to me about developing that menu and also supporting local through the way that you do business.
Yeah, the menu is a funny thing. a lot of our customers drive that menu and what it looks like. So being open for as long as we have been, clearly there's some items there that never change, because if you try to change them, which we may or may have not done a couple of times, the feedback is very much so, you know, I come here every week and I want my steak sandwich to be exactly as it is. So they are big drivers for us, and a lot of the items stay the same but have seasonal tweaks that come in. So you think about a dish like a duck confit that in the winter might be served with, you know, more of a heavier item. In the summer, you're going to shift that to something that's more of a salad and more of that local fresh vibe. But yeah, we try to stick with the French tradition as much as we can, while still catering to, you know, people that are looking for a club sandwich or a burger.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I get my vote in for steak frit?
Yes.
You can never get
two
rid
sizes.
of steak frit.
Two sizes.
Very smart. Very smart. I think that's wonderful. Yeah, I love giving people things to do. I'm hoping today that they're booking a reservation at Metropolitan, booking a reservation at a local restaurant through the months of February and March. Maybe it's a special birthday or an anniversary. What else can people do, Sarah, to really back the Ottawa Board of Trade, back the business in this community?
Just honestly get out there and support us. Come in and say hi, even if you're only coming in, like I said, for a quick glass of wine, or you're going to a local shop on a main street and picking out a birthday card for somebody instead of going to Shoppers Drug Mart. I think it's vitally important. Yeah.
I also love to support businesses by even liking or sharing. Like if I go to the restaurant, taking a picture and saying, here's where I am tonight, and I tried this, you know, you should try this.
Yeah.
Simple things like that that you can do from your couch to support businesses as well.
Yeah, exactly. Social media is a big thing. Google reviews, big thing. You know, people look to that when they're coming to the city from out of town. So we talked about tourists earlier on your show today. It's, you know, it's important for them to know where are good spots to go to. So get out there, retweet, post on Instagram, and do a nice Google review for that restaurant that you really enjoyed. You know, take the 5 minutes, even if it's just to give them a star rating instead of writing a full review. It's important to everybody.
Does it give you peace of mind, Sarah, knowing that the Ottawa Board of Trade is there, that they're working
100%.
behind the scenes on so many of these issues, and you get to focus on what you're doing? You don't have to, you know, you can obviously, you're going to pay attention, you're going to know what's going on, but it's almost this extra partner you have.
Yeah, they're basically our support system, right? And, you know, they know what all of our issues are, and every sector has similar issues, although they might be slightly different. We're all in the same boat. So having them there supporting us and lobbying for all of our efforts at all different levels of government and working on the downtown revitalization plan, that's not something we can all do on our own. It's something we need them to do for us, and they're doing a fantastic job. Yeah.
And I'm hoping today that we also inspire people to keep watching Ottawa Business Matters, share it with their friends, and be able to support this show so that we can showcase wonderful leaders like yourself in the community. So it's wonderful to have you here. I'm so grateful for everything you've done in the community, and you've been just so, you know, wonderful to work with the media as well. I think it's a really important piece.
Oh, thanks. I mean, it's not easy as a small business owner too to make time, right? Like I'm going to run out of here immediately and get to work as fast as I can before we open for lunch service, because I got to be there.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Sarah Chown joining us today from Metropolitan Brasserie, right in the downtown core of Ottawa. Thank you so much for being part of our very first show. Today is all about influencing, informing, and inspiring you in terms of Ottawa business. I am your host. Thank you so much for joining us. Ottawa Business Matters. We'll see you next time. So we're just going to chat.